That's a damn good sandwich. Capitulation station. I mean, if you're looking at crypto right now, you've got to be a little bit despondent, a bit down. Prices are flat. Prices have crashed all across the board. Capitulation everywhere. It's hard to feel invested in crypto projects when they drop so severely, especially if you've invested quite a chunk of change in it, either because you thought it was going to go up or just invested in it because, you know, you like being part of a project. But do not fear. These things are, if you stay around in this kind of area for any period of time, you kind of get used to it, because if you follow the cycles enough, and I don't mean by like learning how to be a trader and watching the signals and yada yada yada, all of that boring blinky lights, you know, kind of shit, then you can see certain trends. You know, things happen for a couple of years and then they die off and then they come back again. They're up, they're down, they're a woozy, they're a wisey. They're not even on the elemental chart. My favorite part in that film, Wolf of Wall Street. Anyway, I want to do a video about the cool shit that I see in crypto, regardless of the price, regardless of the down, regardless of how bad your portfolio looks in a minute. There's still some cool shit out there, and why you should still be invested in these projects, the teams behind them. Maybe you just have to be a little bit smarter about your investments now. Maybe you only put half of what you're going to put in. Also, not financial advice, but you know, put money in that you are comfortable with losing. I think I've probably said that for years and years and years, but I wanted to do a bunch of little URLs and links this morning that I've come across that kind of really speak to me, and also can probably give you an insight as to where crypto projects are going to and how they're going to affect things in the TM real world. One of those things is this Cryptopunk by RTFKT. They're kind of like a incubator. They come up with concepts and they link like technology that's happening with like real world projects. So what these guys have done, and I think it looks incredible, is that they take the color palette from NFTs that have already been created. So most people will probably know about the Cryptopunks, these like graphics NFTs that sold for just gob amounts of ETH, like just crazy amounts of ETH, maybe, you know, upwards of 50, 100 million for these little 2D punk things. You can dig deeper into why they're gonna have perceived value in the future. But for now, what I like about this is it kind of unifies both sides of it. It makes it a lot easier for your average person to digest as to what this is about. So as far as I can work out from this is that if you own one of these Cryptopunks, these guys are making these custom sneakers that are picking up on the colors of the color palette of your punks and then turning them into trainers. But what's more interesting here is the fact that if you own one of these NFTs, one of these non-fungible tokens, you've bought something in time at a certain time, certain date, certain cost, and it's kind of an immutable peg to ownership, right? Like if I bought a piece of art from like a Banksy from Sotheby's, they'd have a record. I'd have to make a payment from the bank to Sotheby's to pay for it, and it would be listed in their book that it was sold to a dealer. Maybe you can hide that or not, but then that asset I can use to maybe display in a gallery or have it at home, and that becomes kind of like an asset that I own. The difference with digital is it's like on a public blockchain that I own this, so I can kind of like trade it or do things with it. I kind of see a future where we will have digital moments, items. You've seen memes getting NFTs. We'll have a time where legacy will be really, really important, and looking back on this stuff, it'll be almost like booking in a NFT, like being able to trade that NFT for like an hour or 2 hours or even a week to sit in a virtual gallery somewhere. But ultimately you will still own it, but you will be able to like rent it out. into different spaces, in the same way that, you know, they move different objects around in the world to different museums, and they stay with there for a period of time and then they go somewhere else. I really love the idea that if I buy something immutable on a blockchain, that somebody can come along and remix that data and do something like this. Like, you own this punk, but what about like a pair of sneakers based on the colors? Then you've got like a talking point in the real world, right? So people see, whoa, those trainers are neat, those sneakers are cool. Where'd you get them from? Oh, well, it's linked to my NFT through this company. Then this company gets kudos because it's like, oh, what an interesting expression of like taking that and flipping it into something else in the real world. So I really love what they did with this. The design of it's amazing. Like, I love seeing OpenGL in the web browser. We don't see enough of it, and it's fast now, you know, like, looks good, it's fast. I love the fact how detailed this looks. Love this whole background thing as well. Traits male, 6,000 punks have this, earring, bandana, medical mask. I just think it's cool as shit. Next thing is about VTubers. VTubers are really starting to take off. This is Miko, a lady on the left-hand side. She, I think, moved from Tokyo, Japan, somewhere like that, moved to San Francisco, was going to start a job, I believe. I think it was for Epic or somebody similar. And because of the pandemic, something fell through, and she'd spent all this money, you know, making the move and everything. And then she had a full-scale panic, I would have thought, like, how am I going to live? How am I going to pay my rent? And she ended up buying a really expensive suit and connected it up to Unreal Engine. She's also an engineer, so she knows how to build all this stuff. And she went from not many followers at all to like 300,000 or 400,000 followers in the middle of the pandemic, when everybody's at home watching, absorbing, desperate for content to keep themselves entertained. And she's become a kind of legend in the VTuber world, I think, because she can do everything. She's like a one-person band, you know, like, she can create and engineer her scenes, her looks and everything. I definitely see this going where Dr. Disrespect should be going next, is having like his robot thing being completely like motion captured on him. Also, I'm really surprised that we don't see these big VTubers and streamers with their own tokens. I don't get that yet. We have things like the Rally, which is a site for tokens for kind of influencers or people of notoriety on social media, but I just don't understand why a lot of the, like, for instance, you know, DTube could reach out to one of these particular streamers and chuck them a bunch of money for 6 months or a year to have them on the service. I don't know why a lot of other blockchains are not doing this, because they've got a volume of people who come in to see them every single day for a period of time. And as long as you're front and center, you have good advertising, marketing relationship with these influencers, it's a no-brainer for me. Next up, Seattle startup Modica turns shipping containers into software-driven microfactories. Me personally, I love anything with shipping containers. I think shipping containers are this cool, you know, object that floats around the world. It's back and forth, bringing us stuff from China and back again every 6 weeks. I love these things because, one, I've seen food production made in them, so like having all those pink and white lights in there and growing greens. And then there's things like this interconnected system for micro manufacturing and housing it all inside the shipping container. So for instance, if you were a school or a local business with a tiny little bit of land, you could pop one of these on there, and instantly you could open yourself up with a website for people to send in their 3D designs that they want printing and then sending back. So almost like you turn yourself into a mini Amazon, where people have an idea that they've like mapped out at home, created in their favorite program, and then they just send it into your business and it gets printed inside of one of these little shipping containers. I love the fact that it's all self-contained. The fact is that if I'm a small business and my rent goes up, or like I just don't like the area, or like you know, I have trouble in that area, or whatever it may be, I can literally pack this up, put it on the back of a lorry and take it somewhere else. And I love that. You're not like confined to rent problems and things like that. So definitely look at projects like this. I think many of these shipping container projects, as soon as they start having like a token or some kind of crypto related thing attached to them, I think the price of these things is going to go up. The more that we have like natural disasters and climate change things happen, the more we need easy ways of getting these things about to different places. Be able to like airdrop them, literally, like a literal physical airdrop from one place to another place. Hosting, this one's crazy, right? So hosting SQL-like databases on GitHub pages. You've probably seen this already if you like a nosy geek who looks around the internet. But somebody rewrote in WebAssembly this crazy like SQL compiled from C into WebAssembly, which is just in itself is just nuts that somebody spent the time to actually build that. And they've got a fully working SQL database hosted on GitHub, so effectively for free. I think we're going to start to see a lot more development in WebAssembly stuff, and slowly I feel like that whole hosting market is going to slowly disappear. Like the hosting market that we know today with WordPress, for instance, I think it's like 25-30% of the market is still WordPress. If I don't have to pay that monthly fee, and maybe I hold your token, and therefore you give me access to a site free as long as I'm holding your token, and maybe I get a APR rate on that as well per year if I'm a loyal customer. I can definitely see that coming soon. The fact that GitHub gives you like free stuff like this is freaking awesome. So seeing somebody like Evolve SQL, a database hosted on a effectively static site hosting, is just nuts. And next up, Helium. I'm so bullish about Helium, even though the price is like $10 today. I think if you don't have the Helium boxes, I would heartily suggest, not financial advice, I guess it is financial advice, but I personally, from my opinion, for myself, would love to buy a bunch of Helium right now, because I think it's growing incredibly fast. I think it's like 1,000 units, 1,000 boxes are added it's either every day or every month. I think it's every day. And so we've gone from like 25,000 boxes to 40,000. I think by the end of the year will be 100 plus, like 100,000 of these Helium boxes at LoRaWANs across the world. And what's super cool about LoRaWAN compared to Wi-Fi, although I haven't looked into if they have similar problems to Wi-Fi in LoRaWAN, maybe they created different libraries altogether, I don't know. But having 100,000 of these worldwide, they're effectively nodes in a massive connected network that is owned by the general public. They're not owned by a corporation. So once you have that many units out there, you can start to do some really interesting things. And it won't just be Helium have started the culture, if you like, have started the process of getting these out there. But I think it's relationships and partnerships like this with Streamer, and there'll be more. I feel like Helium is going to build a LoRaWAN marketplace of applications out there that, you know, people are buying these boxes right now because they're seeing people like making lots of money with HNT, and they're just like on a daily basis, and so they're buying units and sticking them on aerials and giving them to their friends and family and having them connect up, you know, within 10 kilometers from each other, because that's the maximum range on the LoRaWAN, or at least on an internal aerial, I think, anyway. So this is really interesting to me, because I think it's worthwhile to invest in Helium, because I think it'll be huge in the next 2 or 3 years. It's already huge now, but it's going to be just going to steamroll, I think, because LoRaWAN is a very interesting technology that is looking to, you know, it's too hobbyist. It was too hobbyist the last couple of years as the Internet of Things, and it was a little bit throwaway. Great new technology, but nobody really rolling this stuff out, only like hobbyists. So you really need to have the network out there for it to prove it. It was a network looking, it was software looking for a network, I think. I've got that the right way around. So yeah, Streamer are linking up an end-to-end pipeline for connecting, delivering, and monetizing IoT. So it uses MQTT, I believe. Let me scroll down. Yeah, it's got MQTT integration, which allows it to broadcast the data to different units along in the mesh, basically, of all the Helium nodes. And so that opens up all kinds of things. Like I could have a bunch of like sensors on the house, but also maybe I could do some kind of localized data exchange for tracking objects that I have that you can rent off me. Maybe I've got like a chainsaw that you want to borrow for like half a day or whatever. So that, and that's away from cellular and the corporate networks. I can do this mesh with my local neighborhood, local area. So for meetups and things like that, I just think this is going to blow up. I really do. Unstoppable Stack. I found this on GitHub. The ability to use a DNS, a decentralized DNS with Handshake, and then Skynet, which is obviously SIA, as the front end. And then there's a cloud infrastructure that I still need to dig deep in and find out what they're about. But the back end is a thing called Akash. But altogether, they've come up with this like full stack web application using decentralized domains, which I didn't know. But if you buy a Handshake domain, HNS domain, you pay once. You don't have to keep paying yearly for the domain. Once you've bought it, it's yours forever. Like, for me, that lines up perfectly with the whole domain stuff thing that's happening. I truly think that centralized hosting of apps is totally going away. And so the sooner you can get into this and play around with this and learn about it, I think the better it'll be for you. If you are a digital content creator or a blogger and you're still paying monthly fees for your WordPress or your hosting, start digging deep onto that stuff, because it's going away and it's going away fast. And I can't imagine that they can be very competitive against a decentralized network of nodes that are just like putting them up because people want to support the overall network. The prices on these things is crazy. Like if you look at SIA versus, if you look at Firebase and SIA versus Amazon S3, it's so much cheaper. And it's kind of on par with the same performance, which is even more crazy. Crypto payment link. This is by Nimic, I think. Yeah, brought to you by Nimic. Charge your customers with Nimic, Bitcoin, or Ethereum. Create a custom link and QR code in seconds. These are the things that crypto companies, especially in this like down period, need to be building, and they need to simplify them. It was Addy Torrent that kind of turned me on to Nimic, and I really loved their interface, their log on, this dragging this image into this kind of wallet thing, and it unlocked. It didn't work for me because I don't have a kind of business banking account for SEPA, so I don't get that instant low fee thing. I tried it with a card, but it didn't work. It fell over. But it was through a partner. I think it was with MoonPay, which I'm sure MoonPay are good, but I didn't have an initially good experience with them, so I didn't do it again. But your item, enter what you want to get paid for, and put in the amount here, and then you do next and step through. Creates a custom link and a QR code. Send that to the customer scans it, walks through, they take the card payment, and you get paid. Those kind of things, getting paid in crypto for work, like these are perfect moments to start switching 50% or 25% of your customer base and saying, hey, I don't know if you're interested in crypto. Probably a lot of people are not going to want to be paying you in crypto when it's really low, but some people might have like a big stack of crypto, and they've done pretty well from one particular thing and put it in a stable coin and pulled it back out again. But trying to get some of your customer base to start paying you in crypto, one, you're getting them used to the idea that you're going to eventually go decentralized completely, but also you made it easy for them, right? And I don't know who's going to step in and do the invoicing component of this. I'm sure Nimic is looking at that as well. But anything that speeds up that for freelancers and small businesses has got to be good, because that's the lifeblood that a small business operates on. They don't want to wait 90 days to get paid or 30 days to get paid. They need to get paid straight away because they can do stuff with it. Next thing, MINA, HTTPS and snaps. So I'm still learning about MINA. I think it's exciting because the ZK... what is it called? The ZK Snarks. So this Snark, ZK Snarks, is super interesting, and I've still yet to really deep dive on it. But the fact that the MINA blockchain is so small, it's almost like they've looked at all the issues with blockchain and gone, why is it doing this? Why do we need to do this? And the first demo that they had of like a DeFi interface to use centralized platforms to check your ID and then be able to put together a DeFi policy for you to be able to get a loan was super flawless. It looked incredible the way it worked. And so this is something that I'm very interested in. When they release little things like this private gateway called Snaps, they've managed to do it through using HTTPS. So the key insight is that institutions already sign all of their data, so they can basically use their general purpose smart contract with that. And so like I say, I'm still learning on this. I think it's very, very interesting stuff. I think this is what will end up operating behind the scenes. I think your average person won't care about it. They'll just see a beautiful UI and UX the same ways as they do on their centralized applications. But powering it will be this cheaper, much cheaper, delegated, distributed platform that handles all that stuff and does a market maker in DeFi to get you an incredibly good loan from banks who would normally never deal with you. I think we're seeing a brand new kind of customer coming along. That is people who are invested in these decentralized networks that have assets and balances in each of these things that can't pull it out for whatever reason. Maybe they're leaving it in because the dealing with all the tax is incredibly difficult. And so they're putting it into these things that make them more APR, and slowly they get to the point where they can live off that. They can live off the interest of it and have all these like DeFi projects tendering, bartering with each other to give you the better deal. I just think it's like a brilliant marketplace for a human being using digital compared to just going into a grey skanky old bank and just having some like dude sit down there and give you the one APR on some shit. Next up, this unfortunately I think failed, but this is a thing called Stackwork, and I came across it the other day because I'm trying to learn how to set up and run and use a Lightning node on the back of BTC Pay, which is running on my Umbrella server. And so this could have been so good, and I just don't know what it seems to. Twitter seems to have been dead. Like, I don't know if it's being used. I haven't managed to set up the Lightning node side of it yet, so I can't really tap into it to see if there's anything actually functioning there. But it's kind of like the old Amazon thing, which I think is still running, the like the micro payments, micro task system they had. Amazon Turk, yeah, Amazon Turk I think it was, which was like a marketplace, which incredibly small amounts of money, but you had like, you know, decipher these, if that, take those like little password login things, right? Now when you click on those boxes, is there traffic lights and stuff in this scene? Kind of like that, right? Like micro tasks that you do over and over and over again. You get paid a certain fee for a period of time. So they were building something for Lightning, so they could handle like complex tasks in real time. So for instance, if you got a picture here, you could sketch around and say this is by Puma, this is by Adidas, this is by Nike, and then each one of those little tasks you would get paid out in Lightning for it. I think we're going to see a lot more of these. I think the super fast blockchains, the Solanos, the Binance Smart Chains, anything that's really like fast to complete, BSV, I think these kind of like micro tasks areas where somebody can hire, you know, 20 or 30 or 100 people worldwide to do a variety of actions for them, and then you have a pool of resources, pool of payments that can just pay them based on their completion. Maybe you could have a tiered system where you have like your really good people at the top and the people at the bottom who are trying to get better, and the people above them can like see if they've done all right. You know, you could literally pay them a lesser fee because you know there's going to be a percentage of errors, and then you have somebody above them like checking those errors, and then you have your really good gold standard players that get it right 99% of the time. I think there's like a tiered system to that you could build. So kind of exciting. Like I really wish this had paid off, but they had these custom workflows for labeling, video annotation, which would be incredibly useful for YouTubers, isolating elements, bounding box, question, translation. But I just don't see any activity, which is a real shame. I'm not sure if it's their marketing or if it's just that Lightning is a little bit more difficult, because it doesn't seem difficult, but there is a few more like hurdles to go through, maybe 5 or 10 hurdles to get through before you're like up and running, it's functioning, and you kind of understand that it's pulling from your wallet to do that layer 2 payoff, and then it catches up later on and actually takes it out of your I presume takes it out of your BTC wallet. I think you fund it somehow. That's the bit I'm confused about. I need to learn about. Another thing that launched about a week or two ago is Time Warp from LaborX, Timex. I was working with those guys for a little while. They've introduced their own little coin for staking time, and then gets paid out like once a week. So you can, they've got like an open market for revenues generated by Chronotech's ecosystem. So if you're a staked person in that, then there's a payout. So they're basically doing the kind of pancake swap kind of thing for their platform. I presume this is all powered by Plasma again, which is the Ethereum add-on. But they're doing pretty good. Price is $11. The market cap is 8 million. But the fact that this links into their LaborX, it's kind of cool as well. So you can see that the growth is pretty good. The gigs growth is pretty good. Definitely would like to play with that. It's just we're in downtime in crypto at a minute, so someday I'm going to look at that, because I love their LaborX product. I think that's gonna, at some point, the whole market's going to flip from centralized platforms like Upwork that charge like 20% to platforms that charge next to nothing. And I think they're perfectly positioned for somebody to come along and acquire them for that if they hold on long enough. Next thing is Rave Space, completely going off crypto a little bit, but also not, because I think you have to kind of pay with crypto to actually get into these things. So Rave Space is Berlin's first virtual 3D club. Fully browser-based, you don't have to install anything. In the club, you can see your favorite DJs perform live on the dance floor, interact with other ravers through voice chat, trigger dance moves, explore the club and art. I would love to see like other crypto platforms like doing more of the kind of social stuff. Like, I feel like the content could be made on a daily or weekly or monthly basis, getting everybody together in these social spaces just to hang as people. It doesn't have to be to talk about crypto, but to actually get to know people better. So I feel like crypto can be very isolationist. You know, this is mine, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm getting on with. You know, you can see people stacking. Even people who are just investors and not content creators. I think these social components are crucially important for these communities to grow. Otherwise, you've just got 100 people who are just standalone people. You might be interested in the brand and the product, but you haven't really got a community. You just got a lot of people who are doing their own thing. It's kind of odd. So this is kind of cool, especially in the middle of the pandemic. They must have done really well out of it. I haven't actually stepped through to see how you actually make the payment, but I'm assuming it would be crypto based. I'll have to have a look. Next up, Polygon. I just have to mention Polygon. I think Polygon Matic are going to do really well in the next year, even though we're kind of like in this down phase. I really do think that they've got some interesting they're taking what's out there and they're rolling it all together, and I think that's going to serve them well in the future, because whatever they do after this, if this doesn't work out, whatever they do after this, there's a great team of people there, smart people there, who are going to build some cool shit. So I'm definitely looking at buying some Matic and Polygon and holding it for at least a couple of years. Staking rewards. Came across this the other day. Leading data provider for staking and crypto growth tools, currently tracking 217 yield-bearing assets with an average reward of 15%, 14.95%. You're not going to get that kind of percentage return from a bank, let me tell you. Obviously, as you can see, we're red right now. Last 24 hours, Solana got absolutely hit. Cardono, I still believe, like, over the long term, Cardano is going to do some great stuff. Polkadot is going to do some great stuff. Ethereum 2 is going to shock everybody. Solana is just stupidly fast. So these four are super, like, worthwhile getting into, I think. If you're into digital, if you're into crypto, if you're into the long term of flipping what we have in centralized that you're annoyed into something called decentralized, those four are super interesting to me. Great website for looking at rewards and APR payouts. And then last two today, SundaeSwap, just briefly talked about Cardano. They're building a decentralized exchange on the Cardano blockchain, and they're actually doing their May the 25th, their ISO. If you've got any Cardano and you stake it through SundaeSwap, you can earn their token. I presume it's called Sunday or something similar to that. So have a look at that. And then the last one I want to finish off today is I want to kind of pose a question, is that there's this NFT.storage. So free storage for NFTs. So one of the fundamental issues that was brought up about NFTs is what happens if the place where you store your image, or the company you store your image through, maybe like OpenSea or something like that, what if they disappear in a couple of years' time? You just own an NFT with a link to something that no longer exists. So the image hosting part of it is really important. And also the locking down of that, the immutability of that, because I've even seen things where people have replaced the image with a rug to imitate like a rug pull. You've bought this image and then the image is not, the image URL has been changed with another image. Like they've just uploaded it at the same place on that same URL. So one thing that has come forward is that IPFS and Filecoin have realized this and realized that there is a market to jump in on here because NFT is not going to go away. And so they've built this uploader, a brand new service for storing off-chain NFT data, and it's decentralized on IPFS and Filecoin, which I think is such a smart move to be that like validator, right? Because one, it validates IPFS, two, it gets used, so TX records go up through the roof, three, it makes NFT more viable. Like it makes, if Filecoin are getting behind it and IPFS are getting behind it, then you know they're trying to go for the long term. They're trying to evolve this space. And in return, I think, even though they give you like, I think it's 100 meg or something per client, while it's in beta, I can't remember, I think it was 100. But the fact that they're thinking about this now, it got me thinking, well, maybe we should be using this on DTube. Maybe we should plug this in per user, and a user has to sign up with these guys, get an API access key, and I put that API access key into my DTube, and then all of my thumbnails are uploaded to IPFS and Filecoin. Now that's only 100 meg, so I don't know how long that would last, but it would show partnership and support for this project for IPFS and Filecoin, and maybe we'll get a bit more like people coming back the other way and looking at DTube. Just a thought. It's very cool to see projects like this offering free hosting for the NFTs. And I wonder if they'll allow us to host like images for maybe we just make every video on DTube an NFT, who knows. Anyway, that's it for me. I'll catch up with you soon. You have a great lunch, you have a great Sunday, you have a great week ahead. I'll catch up with you soon.